Ancient Chinese philosophers' life lessons men learn too late in life. Life is a journey filled with trials, triumphs, and inevitable lessons. Many men spend their youth chasing ambitions, wealth, and recognition, only to discover later that what truly matters was always within their grasp. The wisdom of ancient Chinese philosophers passed down through generations speaks to these very truths, lessons that often take a lifetime to fully comprehend. Confucius, the great teacher of morality, believed that a man's character was his true destiny. Many men waste their younger years seeking external validation, failing to realize that true respect is earned through integrity, discipline, and virtue. It is only in later years, after mistakes have been made and opportunities lost, that they come to understand the power of wisdom and lifelong learning. The rush for status and success often leads to neglected relationships, but in the quiet moments of reflection, many come to regret the time not spent with family, the words left unsaid, and the love unexpressed. Laozi, the sage of Taoism, taught that nature moves effortlessly, yet everything is accomplished. Young men, full of drive and ambition, often resist life's natural flow, pushing against obstacles with force instead of wisdom. They learn too late that happiness is not found in the endless pursuit of material wealth, but in the simplicity of being, in embracing the present moment without resistance. The greatest power, Laozi taught, is not in control, but in surrender, allowing life to unfold rather than forcing it into submission. Zhuangzi, the philosopher of freedom, spoke of the illusion of control and the fleeting nature of human desires. Many men spend their youth comparing themselves to others, measuring their worth by external achievements. But time reveals that such comparisons are meaningless. The true joy of life comes not from what one possesses, but from a mind unburdened by societal expectations. Only when men learn to release their egos do they find true peace. Yet this realization often arrives when the weight of past regrets is already too heavy to bear. Mencius, the champion of inner strength, reminded the world that adversity is not an enemy, but a teacher. The struggles faced in youth often feel overwhelming, but as years pass, men come to see that these very hardships were the fires that forged resilience. The kindness they once viewed as weakness becomes the virtue that builds lasting connections. In their later years, many men long to rediscover the childlike heart they once had, the curiosity, the wonder, the unfiltered joy of simply being. Sun Tzu, the master strategist, taught that true victory lies not in conquest but in wisdom. Many men waste their energy in unnecessary battles, fighting to prove themselves in ways that ultimately lead nowhere. Later in life, they come to understand that patience and strategy are far more powerful than brute force. The greatest warriors, he wrote, win without fighting, something that only becomes clear after years of wasted conflict and misplaced pride. In the end, life teaches all men what these philosophers knew long ago. Wisdom is not in chasing what is fleeting, but in understanding what is eternal. Time once lost cannot be reclaimed, and the lessons learned too late often become the deepest regrets. But for those willing to listen, the wisdom of the ancients offers a chance to embrace a life of meaning, purpose, and true fulfillment before it is too late. The illusion of time. Time is the one currency that can never be replenished, yet it is spent carelessly in youth. A man believes he has endless days ahead, enough to chase dreams, enough to mend mistakes, enough to return to what was once left behind. But time is a patient thief, stealing away opportunities while whispering the illusion that tomorrow will always come. It is only when the years have passed, when the face in the mirror bears the weight of experience, that he realizes how much he has lost to procrastination, pride, and misplaced priorities. Confucius often spoke of self-cultivation, urging men to refine their character while time was still on their side. Yet in youth, discipline feels like a burden, and patience an unnecessary virtue. The young man believes he can delay wisdom, that growth will come when he is ready. But wisdom does not wait. It is a path that must be walked with intent. Only later, when faced with the consequences of neglected discipline, does he understand the truth. The habits of today shape the destiny of tomorrow. Laozi warned of resistance, the way men fight against life instead of flowing with it. In youth, there is an urge to control, to bend reality to one's will. The desire for success is fierce, and setbacks are met with frustration. But as the years pass, a quiet truth emerges. Some things cannot be forced, and the more a man clings to control, the more life slips through his grasp. It is only after years of struggling against the inevitable that he sees the wisdom in surrendering to the natural course of events, in trusting that not everything must be conquered by force. Zhuangzi laughed at the seriousness with which men take their own importance. He saw through the illusion that status, wealth, and recognition could bring fulfillment. Yet how many men spend decades chasing titles, proving their worth through the eyes of others? Only in the solitude of later years, when the noise of ambition quiets, do they begin to wonder, was it all worth it? The wealth accumulated, the power gained, none of it can buy back the time lost, nor the relationships neglected in the pursuit of success. In the end, Zhuangzi's wisdom proves undeniable. A life lived freely, without attachment to illusions, is the only life truly lived. Mencius believed in resilience, that the trials of life shape the spirit. Yet when a man is young, hardship feels like an unfair burden. He curses his struggles, believing life should be easier. But as he grows older, he looks back and realizes, those very struggles were the fire that forged his strength. The pain, the failures, the moments of doubt. They were not obstacles, but lessons. How unfortunate that many men realize too late that adversity is not their enemy, but their greatest teacher. And then there is Sun Tzu, who spoke of battles that should never be fought. How many men have wasted years in conflict, arguing over matters of pride, holding grudges, refusing to walk away from fights that serve no purpose? Only in the later years, when the weight of unnecessary wars grows heavy on the soul, do they come to understand Sun Tzu's greatest lesson? Victory is not in defeating others, but in mastering oneself. The strongest man is not the one who wins every fight, but the one who knows when to step away. As time moves forward, the wisdom of these ancient thinkers becomes clearer. But wisdom delayed is often wisdom wasted. How many men looking back wish they had listened earlier, had lived with more awareness, had chosen differently? Time is not infinite, and the greatest tragedy is not in growing old, but in realizing too late the truths that were always there. The illusion of time fades eventually, and when it does, a man is left with one question. Did I truly live wisely, or did I learn too late? Reason. The weight of reflection. In the quiet moments of life, when the rush of ambition has slowed and the echoes of past choices linger, a man is left with reflection, an inventory of all that was gained, all that was lost, and all that could have been. Time, once abundant, now feels fragile. Each passing day a reminder of the fleeting nature of existence. The lessons of the great philosophers, once dismissed as mere words, now stand as undeniable truths etched into the fabric of his experience. Confucius spoke of virtue, of how a man's character determines his fate. In youth, it is easy to believe that success is measured in wealth, titles, and accolades. But as years pass, the reality becomes clear. Character is the true currency of a meaningful life. The respect earned through integrity outweighs any fleeting recognition. Too often, this lesson is learned after mistakes have been made, when the realization dawns that success without honor is an empty victory. Laozi, the master of flowing with the Tao, taught that resistance breeds suffering. The young man fights, clings, and tries to control everything around him, only to find that life does not bend to his will. It is in later years when he looks back at the battles he did not need to fight, the stress he did not need to bear, that he understands the wisdom of letting go. Peace was never something to be pursued, it was something to be allowed. Zhuangzi warned of illusions, of the masked society forces upon men, the chase for status, the need for validation, the endless comparisons. All of these create a life that feels important, but is in truth hollow. It is only in the later years, when the need to impress fades, that a man sees the truth. Freedom lies in detachment, in being unburdened by the expectations of others. How much lighter life feels when one stops pretending to be what they are not. Mencius believed that a man's greatest strength was his ability to endure. to maintain kindness and virtue despite the hardships of life. Looking back, a man sees that it was not his successes that defined him, but how he responded to failures, how he treated others when no one was watching, how he carried himself in moments of despair. He understands now that strength was never about power. It was about perseverance, about remaining true to himself when the world tried to change him. Sun Tzu, the strategist, knew that the greatest victories are often silent. A man who has fought every battle, who has sought dominance in every aspect of life, comes to understand that the real triumph was never in conquest, but in knowing when to walk away. The wars waged in youth, against others, against himself, now seem unnecessary. The wisest men are not those who defeated their enemies, but those who mastered themselves. And so, standing at the edge of time, a man looks back. He sees the roads he traveled, the choices he made, the lessons he learned too late. But there is still time, not to undo the past, but to live the present with clarity. There is time to embrace peace, to live with wisdom, to value what truly matters. There is time to love without hesitation, to let go of pride, to seek joy in simplicity. The greatest tragedy is not in making mistakes, it is in failing to learn from them. And the greatest wisdom is not found in knowing everything, but in understanding what is truly worth knowing. The final lesson is clear. Life is not measured by the years a man lives, but by how wisely he chooses to live them. And the wisest choice of all is to begin now, before time makes the decision for him.